Hello and welcome to another episode of Timo Talk. Our guest today is Urmi Gupta, a well-known sports psychologist. Urmi has been in the field for more than 17 years. During her career, she has held positions such as sports mental performance coach, counselor, sports nutritionist, and teaching. She has also worked in social welfare and research and development. As a speaker, trainer, and mental conditioning camp leader, she has spoken to a variety of institutions and high-achieving individuals. She served as the performance coach for around 40 weightlifters, including state and national champions. Her experience includes working with Olympian swimmer Sandeep Sejwal and ace swimmer Pratyasa as a personal mental performance coach. She is now pursuing a PhD in Contemplative and Behavioural Science. Welcome to Timo Talk. Psychology is something we have heard about. But what is sports psychology?
Sports psychology is a combination of many sciences. It is an applied science. It is a combination of biomechanics, kinesiology, physiology, and psychology. It helps one understand how psychological factors affect performance in sports and how to use psychological techniques to improve performance.
Psychology in India is regarded as a mental weakness. What is your opinion?
Yes, in India, this has some kind of taboo and or a stigma when people they think that somebody approaching a psychologist means has some problem, some mental weakness kind of thing. But let me tell you, it is not so in the sports world. Especially in Western world, this concept of sports psychology actually came way back in 1920. And after 1984 Olympics, in fact from 1990, it has gained a lot of popularity there. And it's a very, very common thing there. In India also in recent years, many of the celebrities have been speaking about taking psychological help like Sejwal, Vinesh Fogart and other people. So in India also, in the sports world, let me tell you, this is not considered a taboo anymore. But yes, when it comes to other people in your life, if they think it is a taboo, you have to simply ignore them to deal with this.
Who all can benefit from sports psychology services?
Whosoever is wanting to pursue sports as the future career seriously, they can always take help of a sports psychologist. A sports psychologist can help even coaches, sports officials like umpires, referees, and video analysts and all. And dancers, stage performers are the other areas where they can be benefited immensely with the help of a sports psychologist. In fact, people from all walks of life can be benefited to lead a better balanced life with the help of a sports psychologist. We work with all, any level of athletes, be the beginners, amateurs, professionals, state level, national level, or Olympians.
Can you tell us about sports psychologists' main areas of work?
While coaches, they focus on the physical aspect of the sports, a sports psychologist focuses on the minds of the athletes. A sports psychologist can help athletes, professionals, and amateurs alike achieving their goals. The one common goal is to help athletes improve their performance. Different sports psychology techniques they work for different interventions. Like some they help in improving confidence, whereas some they help in managing anxiety and reducing stress. But the overall goal is always to improve performance. So we as a sports psychologist, we help athletes learn performance enhancing strategies. We also help them mentally cope with the competition, deal with the competition pressure, cope with the performance fears, post recovery from injuries, and that is the time a sports psychologist can help an athlete to learn to learn mental techniques that will help them tolerate pain and also stick to their very strict physiotherapy programs and adjusting to being sidelined. Another area is many athletes when they return after a gap of certain years to active participation in sport, then also sports psychologists can help them maintain their motivation and confidence that they normally lose because of this gap. And to become successful in sports, this needs an athlete to stick to a very strict exercise program, exercise routine to maintain, and for that, in order to stick to that, to follow that exercise routine, one has to learn to maintain and sustain motivation. Here also, a sports psychologist teaches them how to maintain their own motivation to stick to their strict exercise program. Another very important area is we help them we help the athletes maintain better emotional health. Another very important area is as a sports psychologist, we help athletes develop many cognitive skills like memory, attention, focus, decision making, cognitive flexibility, visual attention. All these areas they matter a lot in sporting performance.
Is there any ideal age for mental coaching?
One can easily start mental training at the age of 12, 13. In fact, that is the ideal age to start. And that exactly is the time many children, they decide to pursue sports as their future career. So 12 to 13 is absolutely the right age to start mental training.
After a psychology session, how long does it take to realize the benefits?
One can see the difference in performance soon after even one session. A sports psychologist teaches athletes some of the mental skills to maintain confidence, reduce anxiety, maintain better emotional health, and to sustain motivation, etc. So, since it is about building a mental skills, this needs repetition and practice. The way you practice any other skill, whether it is learning a sport, or I will give you here an example of riding a cycle. When as a kid you start riding the cycle, you do not run it, do not ride on it effortlessly. A child has to practice for several days and a many number of times before riding a cycle becomes an effortless job for him. So same is with the mental skills. We will teach the technique, and the athlete or the person has to repeat. One has to do several rehearsals, repetitions, and mental practice of that technique before you see the results. And once that rehearsal becomes so flawless and so continuous that it comes naturally into your behavior, then immediately you can see the difference. In some cases, depending on the issues, at times it might take two to three sessions. But it will all depend on how rigorously do you practice the technique taught to you. You can see the benefits immediately, or sometimes it can take some time, depending on how vigorously you practice and how severe is the issue.
Are you running any mental coaching programs? What are the duration and process?
Yes, I do run these mental training programs. Duration of these programs is normally from 3 to 6 months, depending on the starting point of each one. For deciding the starting point of each one, I conduct a mental profiling assessment. And based on that, we decide the duration of the program for each one. And once after completing this training for 3 to 6 months, one can always practice these skills on their own. And later on, as and when it is required, they can always approach a sports psychologist.
Do you run an online training program?
I do run online training sessions through Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, etc. So a lot of virtual platforms are there where these programs can be run either individually or in the groups.
If you are an athlete and experiencing performance issues or any other issues mentioned in the video, you may contact Urmi Gupta directly or leave your comments below. Thank you, Urmi Gupta, for giving your time to Timo Sports Foundation.
Thank you.